Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Shots on Target podcast. My name is Phil, joined by my man Jakey as always.
What's up, guys?
So this week things are going to be slightly different. We're going to run two segments which will be a recurring topic in total football, where we talk about the biggest moments that happened this weekend and all things controversial in referee watch. We will then transition to three smaller segments, which will be the moment of the weekend chosen by us. This will then be followed by a quick rundown of the Fantasy Premier League if you guys are involved in it, and how things stand in the league. And we will then finish off with the predictions of the upcoming Premier League fixtures. So that's how everything's going to run, guys, and we'll get straight into it. Welcome to Total Football, guys. We will be discussing our three biggest moments of the weekend. So this week we have decided on Luton's first Premier League win against Everton. We've got Crystal Palace beating Manchester United away at Old Trafford, and we have Wolves beating Manchester City, the champions.
Three massive results.
Definitely. So kicking straight off, we will be going with Crystal Palace. So kicking straight off with this, Manchester United again. Here we go.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with United at the minute. Obviously, the win in the cup against Palace, you think, do you know what? Maybe they can kick on from this, and then it's a harsh drop to reality as they lose at home.
Do you know what? It's a crazy old saying though, because there's so many times you've seen this though, and many people don't believe it as such. But when you play a team midweek and you absolutely batter them, there's always a reaction when you play that same team on the weekend a few days later. Always. Yeah. Always a reaction. It's like whether Manchester United came in thinking this was going to be easy because it was so easy midweek, we don't know. But United just looked all over the place once again.
It's a common theme this season where they just look like they don't. As much as Ten Hag is a great manager, they just don't look to have a system.
No, they don't.
They don't have a style. They don't have a philosophy at the club of how to play football, or the players just don't buy into how Ten Hag wants to play. Because you look at that Ajax team and how Ten Hag had them playing there, and then he comes into this club and it's like chalk and cheese. It's just completely different.
No, I agree. I completely agree with you. The biggest thing for me is when you look at Manchester United, they're not a team that exudes confidence anymore at all. They just look a team that are just down on their luck, and they need something to go their way to gain a bit of confidence. You look at players like Marcus Rashford, 30 goals last season in all competitions. This season, he looks just a shade of himself once again. It's like that season was a one-off for him, when we know he's got the talent to rip up a Premier League defence. It's just weird. You've obviously got... So you look at the players they've brought in. You've got Højlund, who I think will be a good signing for them. He looks like he's really trying to...
Yeah, he's looking like he's kicking on us.
He's trying to make a difference for them. It's just the players around him at the minute aren't giving him the service. Maybe they need to figure out how they're going to play. Maybe they need to change their style up a bit, get it down the wing a bit more, and actually deliver crosses into him, because it looks like that's where he will thrive, because obviously he's a big boy.
That's how you should play with a target man striker.
It should
You get the ball into feet and then you play off of them, and it's like they just don't want to do that.
I think it was one of those where Manchester United have a style of playing and they don't know any different at the minute. It's like they're a bit scared to rip up the playbook and start again. And obviously you've got Amrabat coming in as well, who I think is a good signing for them, which will help Casemiro out a lot, which was obviously needed. But just in terms of defence, you look at the injuries they have at the minute, and it's looking bleak for them, because you've got Varane, who's still injured. You've got Martinez, who I think is just coming back from an injury, or he's close. But then you look at their back line after that, and you've got Maguire, you've got Johnny Evans has played minutes. Like, it's just a really weird situation at Manchester United.
I mean, Varane played that game against Palace.
Oh yeah, he'd just come back from injury, hadn't he?
I don't think he's really acclimatised to the league. Obviously, he's not a bad defender. We all know what Varane, like the legacy he left at Real Madrid, but he just doesn't look like he's fit in at United, like to the way they play football and how quick the league plays. Because obviously, you look at Spain and you look at the Premier League, it's two very different styles of football, and it's two very different like paces of football.
Yeah.
They slow the game down a lot, especially when you come from a club like Real Madrid who dominate the ball. They always have it, they dominate possession. It doesn't even look like United can do that.
It's true. It is true.
And it's like you can tell whether he's just not caught up with the pace of the league, or whether it's just down to how United want to play football.
Yeah.
It's a strange one because obviously he's not a bad defender, like I say. He's a 4 or 5-time Champions League winner, same with Casemiro. You don't win that by being a bang average footballer.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
It's just whether he doesn't suit the league, whether he doesn't suit the way the club play football. It's strange.
Don't get me wrong, we could sit here for days and speak about Manchester United's problems and how they could fix it or what is wrong. I think the biggest thing here is we have to talk about how well Crystal Palace played. I mean, you have to look at it as a team that's been absolutely pummeled in the League Cup. Granted, they made 7, 8, maybe 9 changes midweek, and Hodgson was blasted a bit for it. He was like, it was like he gave up the cup to get this result, but the result speaks for itself. If he did do that, it worked.
Yeah, it worked a treat.
It worked an absolute treat. You could see that Manchester United were a bit leggy in the first half, and Palace were a lot more fresher than them. They were battling. They wanted the loose balls, as a team like Crystal Palace will have to do at Old Trafford. I mean, it's such a hard place to go, Old Trafford. Everyone knows it. It is a fortress for a reason. Not that it's been a fortress of late, but it is. And you've just got to give props to Crystal Palace on the result. It's a big result in the grand scheme of things, and another poor one for Manchester United. So
yeah,
not much else you can say on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on, we will go to what I think was actually, I don't think it's the biggest shock of the weekend. If Luton wouldn't have won, obviously, but Wolves beating City 2-1. This is a mad one. We don't know.
And it's not the first time that Wolves have gotten a result against City, which I guess makes it less of a shocking result, because Wolves have always been a mid-table team that have had City's number over the past few years. But
yeah,
I think it's more so the manner of how Wolves won this game. The first goal being an own goal, and then the winner from Hwang Hee-chan, or as Pep Guardiola called him, that Korean guy.
That Korean guy, yeah.
Not smart, Pep, not smart.
I think the main thing I want to say about this is a bit of an unsung hero. Obviously, you've got your attacking players that played on the counter that were absolutely fantastic, but the unsung hero of the day has to be my mate, Ballon Dawson. This guy literally pocketed Erling Haaland, probably one of the best strikers in the world, and Dawson absolutely pocketed him. And I just want to bring back, he did this a couple of seasons ago for West Ham United, last season for West Ham when Haaland first came to City. He absolutely pocketed him again, and it was just an absolutely fantastic performance from Michael Dawson from start to finish. Obviously, if you know how City play, they have attacking options all over the place, but when you look at their lineup and their attacking options was Alvarez, Foden, Doku, and then the main man Haaland, there isn't a crazy amount of attacking options there. So you do rely on Erling Haaland to be that man in a game like that. And Dawson just said no. Simple as. He was not letting that guy get an inch of the goal. And even when they did get a chance, Dawson was there on the line to clear it off the line. Like, he was just fantastic. I mean, Flash Scores only gave him a 7 rating. I think that's pathetic. I think that's at least a 9 out of 10 bloody performance from what I saw of Michael Dawson.
It's always hard to give a defender a good rating because they only see goals. Goals and assists is what get your ratings on the maps.
Yeah, unfortunately so. But obviously, taking nothing away from Wolves. I think in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not going to mean too much the way other teams are looking around the league, but it's still a big result for Wolves considering that they haven't looked exactly on it at the start of the season. There was talk about no money. They lost their manager right before the start of the season. Gary O'Neill came in last minute, and he's just tried to steady the ship, and They found a way to play. They found a way to play now with Neto, Cunha, and Hwang with pace on the break, with obviously Semedo as well, and it worked. It worked beautifully against Manchester City.
Credit to Semedo as well. He shut Doku down for a lot of that game.
Yeah,
he kept, because Doku was a very dangerous winger. He's got pace. He can dribble. He's very direct. Sort of to keep him quiet, considering the start that he's had to this league. Props to him.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, you look at the City team and there is attacking options all over the place. Obviously, I do think, it sounds stupid, but I actually think they're really missing Jack Grealish at the minute. I know the big one is Kevin De Bruyne, but for me, Jack Grealish just brings a little bit something different to that City team. Because like you look at Doku and he's a winger like Mahrez that will literally get the ball and just drive at a defender. Grealish is a bit smarter than that. He'll get the ball, take on a defender, but then he'll also keep the ball. With a Doku, he'll happily lose the ball trying to beat that defender. Grealish won't lose that ball in a sense. And obviously, in terms of injuries for City, you've got De Bruyne. Rodri obviously got the red card, so he was missing. Bernardo Silva injured as well. John Stones. So some big players missing for City. So you can expect results like this to not be uncommon as such. Obviously, when your European treble champions lose a game, it's obviously a big deal. But I do believe in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to mean too much at the end of the day. But still, props to Wolves, a fantastic result.
Great result for Wolves.
Absolutely, it must be spoken about that.
And on to the final game.
Yes, the biggest one of the weekend that we chose.
The biggest shock of the weekend. Luton finally register a win in the Premier League. Feat not many people had them down to do. Certainly I didn't. I thought this would be the first season where you could argue that a team would go 38 games without a win.
Especially not away. I could see him picking up points at the Kenny, but not away. I couldn't see him picking up a single point away, to be honest. Maybe one or two. So
and credit to them, it was a fantastic performance.
It was
against a team that are notoriously quite hard to beat at home for the lower down teams.
But this is a team
they showed fight.
This is a team, Everton, that a week before gave Arsenal a right game as well, game, and then just capitulated against Luton. I think is the right word to say. I mean, in a normal world, Everton should be turning up there and winning 2-3-0, going home, shaking each other, patting each other on the back, and saying "job well done." But I mean, you look at I know stats don't mean everything, but you do look at the stats of the game, and once again, 23 shots from Everton, but only 5 on target. The same recurring issue with Everton Football Club is they do not have someone clinical that can at least hit the target. 23 shots, but only 5 on target is quite unacceptable, if you ask me, in the Premier League. Like, you have 68% possession, which means you're dominating the game. You've got 23 shots. If someone else looks at that stats, you'd think of it like, what the hell just happened there? This is a snatch and grab. But it really wasn't in terms of Luton. They weathered storms very well that Everton had. The chances that Luton did allow Everton to have, no one could finish. And Luton punished them for it, which teams will do to you in the Premier League. Don't matter who you are.
Yeah. It's quite worrying for Everton when they had their main man starting. They had Calvert-Lewin. He was available for this game, and yes, he did score, but 23 efforts. I know it won't be just him taking them shots, but that's worrying from your number 9. I know he's had his troubles with with injury, and whether that's starting to catch up with him, but 23 shots from the entire team and 1 goal. That's appalling.
I don't think you can't obviously lay the whole blame on Calvert-Lewin, which is obviously
not at all
what you're doing, no. But obviously when you play one up top,
it's going to come down to, most of the chances are going to come down to that man up top.
Exactly. I feel like Everton they just need a bit of, kind of like Manchester United in a way. They just need a little bit of confidence, because they do have some decent-ish players there. Like I said, they gave Arsenal a game last weekend, a really good game. I think Arsenal were lucky to come away with that result in the end, because of how well Everton defended. But then you defend so well against a team that's pushed City all the way last year and scored goals for fun, and then go and concede 2 very sloppy goals to Luton as well. Again, don't get me wrong, Luton fans, absolutely brilliant performance. Obviously, Colton Morris's goal was the standout one, a set-piece routine right off the training ground, a lovely finish on the volley, back across Pickford, but...
He should never be getting that space.
No,
Someone has to be on him.
Yeah. And again, that just comes down to communication. Literally just comes down to communication. And I do believe Luton may pick up a few more results like this, because I think teams will show up against Luton, and not... Because obviously you never say professionals half-arse it, but
they might not take it as seriously as they should do.
Exactly. Some players will turn up with half an attitude. I genuinely believe that, and it will help Luton pick up a few more points. Do I think they're going to survive? No. Sorry, Luton fans, I still don't. No. But in the grand scheme of things, if we look back in 6 months' time and this result kept you in the Premier League, what a result.
Yeah. And I think they could, even if they do bow out the league, they're not going to go... they're not going to say, we bowed out with our tails between our legs. We gave teams, we were difficult to play against.
They will never ever forget this weekend, Luton fans.
Oh, 100%.
First ever win in the Premier League. They will never ever forget it.
Yeah.
I honestly do hope now that they get one at the Kenny, though, because that would be amazing just to hear the atmosphere there. Because if you watch the highlights of the game, their crowd were going mad at Goodison. I'd love to see the Kenny like that. But fantastic from from Luton.
Worrying times for Everton.
And big worrying times for Everton, yeah. So, that is going to do it, guys, for segment 1. Stay tuned for segment 2. Welcome back to segment 2, guys. Referee watch. This one's going to be spicy.
It is.
I will let my Liverpool fan take it away.
Yeah, where to start? Well, we'll start from Curtis Jones' red card, because I know that'll be the one that splits opinions.
Yep.
As someone who has played football, yes, a long time ago, I'm not exactly in the shape to do it now, but the way he's gone in for the ball, he's gone to protect the ball. It's a 50-50 for one, so if you don't go for that, you're going to have people slating you for it anyway. So he's gone in for the ball, which he has full right to do. It's not like he's gone in studs up. It's the way his foot's bounced off the ball that's taken that into studs up. And I for one thought, yellow card, yes, that's fair. It's a hard challenge, but it's a contact sport. You can get hurt in football. That is a thing. So for one, I don't think that's a red card. What do you think on it?
Yeah, I got to agree with you on this one. I don't think it was a red card in normal time watching it. I thought that was a booking at most. Like you say, as a footballer, if I'm getting sent off for that, I am absolutely raging, because he's tried to win the ball. His boot is essentially flicked up off a wet ball and then hit the foot of Basuma. I think the biggest thing for me, which I spoke about with you, Jake, is the fact that when the referee goes to the monitor, that all he sees is a still image of that foot making contact with with Basuma's leg.
Yeah.
Nothing else. That's the first thing he sees. So instantly, the doubt is straight in the referee's mind. He has no other way to go, really, than, I've seen this still image, that has to be a red card. They should have started it from the moment Curtis Jones starts running towards the ball, which the referee could then see the clear idea of what's taking place. And then from there, the referee can say, okay, now can you show me this bit or this bit? Let the referee make his own mind up and see the things he wants to see. Don't plant something in the referee's mind that immediately is going to say, that's a red card. And that was the biggest thing for me in that whole situation, was if the referee sees it in real time, Curtis Jones running at the ball, I generally believe that the referee does not send him off for that. And that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, 100%. Because the common phrase that's been thrown about is football's not played in still images. It's not played in slow motion.
Correct.
And if you slow it down, you can take 10 games in a season and slow down just random tackles throughout a game that look similar to what happened with Curtis Jones, and you can make any tackle look like a horror tackle.
Agreed.
Malo Gusto, either last week or the week before, had the same incident. Casemiro last season had the same incident. None of them are red cards.
There've been hundreds of them.
Exactly.
Absolutely hundreds of them. Yeah,
and
I completely
if
agree.
you fall into that slippery slope where, oh well, like if you look at that still, the game's just going to lose meaning because players are just not going to go in for tackles. It's going to become a very, very boring game.
It generally feels like these days the referees are just trying to do a half-assed job, that they think they've got all this technology these days and they don't actually have to do their job and referee it. It's like they think their job's going to be done for them because they can never make a mistake because they've got VAR to back them up. And obviously we're about to talk about where things can actually go very, very wrong in that situation.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me, sorry to cut you off, Jay.
That's fine.
I will let you get into it. Don't worry. But yeah, so the biggest thing for me at the minute is referees just seem like they don't mind making mistakes in real time, even though they probably know they're making mistakes because they've got the VAR to back them up. But when a referee goes to a monitor and sees a still image, it's like I said, it's just planting instant doubt into his mind, and it doesn't allow the referee to referee a game. And that's the biggest thing for me. The referees aren't actually refereeing our games of football. The technology is, and that's not what it was brought in for.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I've always been of the opinion that I think VAR should be there to referee the decision if deemed he's gotten it wrong. But then you can kind of fall into a trap of, oh well, it's just the opinion of technology. So
we can accept human error in certain circumstances because we're all human. We all make mistakes. This is referees have got one of the hardest jobs in football. Don't get me wrong; they do a bloody tough job. But when they make mistakes, they need to put their hands up and go, "That was my bad." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not after the game. Don't say it after the game where it means absolutely nothing to anyone anymore. You have the opportunity to change your mind. That is what the VAR is there for. But crack on, Jake. We'll get to the big one now.
The big one of the weekend, the one that is, I don't even think you can split opinions with it. It's just blatantly wrong. Is Luis Diaz's completely legitimate goal being chalked off for offside? Now, like you say, we can accept human error if it happens from, say, the line, or if he's not in the correct position. You can't fully see, if they're in line. I can accept that. It's happened countless times over the 15, 20 years I've been watching football. But what I can't accept is, and everyone's heard the audio, I imagine, by now, it's been released, I've seen more organised PlayStation and Xbox party chats than what happened in Stockley Park. And it was just calamitous because you look at the replay, when you see the line drawn on, he is miles onside. And you get how quickly they just move past it. And then once the game's restarted and it's been highlighted by the replay operator, who I feel sorry for, because him and the lino have both been left out to dry in this instance, because the replay operator highlights that he's onside. Yeah. And they're very quick to dismiss it and say, oh, we can't restart, we can't do anything, we can't stop the game, it's already been played. And I find that bollocks. Because, apparently it's protocol now that you can't bring a game back once plays began. And I know I'm going to be going back 3 years to mention this, and I've mentioned it to you, I've mentioned it to others. Manchester United against Brighton, Neil Maupay handled the ball in the box, and then the game was finished. The game had fully stopped, and Brighton got away with a point. They then brought that game back, restarted it. Like, half the players were already in the dressing room. They've brought them back out, restarted the game to take the penalty, and then blown up once it's finished. So you can restart the game, and you can bring it back to incidents that happened in a different player. It's just, it's almost as if they've just froze.
I think the biggest thing is that everyone's obviously speaking about is, and Alan Shearer said it on Match of the Day, there was 35 seconds between when VAR say check complete and the restart of that game. And in that 35 seconds, obviously, we've heard the audio. They know they fucked up, but yet nothing is done about it whatsoever. Whether it was a miscommunication, whatever. Obviously, the VAR thought that the goal was given, so he said check complete, great goal, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, the VAR are shaking hands with each other saying, great job, guys, etc. And obviously, then they realised they made a calamitous mistake. But 35 seconds is a long time, man. It is a long time. You can easily quickly get on the mic to the referee and say, hold the game. Like, it takes 2 seconds to just literally get in the referee's ear and say, hold, kick off.
I think as well, in the audio, sorry to cut you off, but in the audio you hear, I think it's the assistant that flags it say, I'm bringing that back for offside.
Yeah.
So if there's a miscommunication there, someone's just clearly not listened. Because you can hear the first official or the second official, whoever says it, it says, oh, I'm bringing that back for offside. So, and there's 3 people in that room, in Stockley Park. Yeah. And no one's picked up on the fact that the word offside is mentioned. He's bringing that back to check for offside. The goal has been disallowed because the line all flagged.
Yeah.
And then, I think there was I think someone says, give it, before he says, no, bring it back for offside.
Yeah.
And then the lines come on and you can see he's blatantly onside. He's a mile on. And then they say, check complete. And the replay operator says that goal's onside, that he's onside. But by that point, the player's already resumed and the ball's the other end of the pitch.
Yeah. And
at that point, they were like, the replay operator says, that goal is onside. Are you happy with that image? And he says, yeah, offside. Or goal offside, or something like that. And then when it's highlighted again that he's onside, they just said that they can't do anything. That play's already been resumed. And it's such a calamitous collection of errors. Because it's not one error, it's about 5.
Yeah.
All in that...
A couple minutes.
All in the span of about 32 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just horrendous.
Don't get me wrong, we can speak for hours about, we could break it down into literally segments, that video of the VAR recordings, and I'm pretty sure people already have done. The biggest thing you have to look at now is, where the hell did VAR go from here? Yeah. Obviously, you've got talk about replays possibly being spoke about. Klopp came out today and said he would like a replay, but it probably ain't going to happen. But then you've obviously got the flip side, where if for me, the Premier League cannot issue a replay, simply because then all they will get is people going, well, why didn't you replay this game, or why didn't you replay that game, or this game? Do you know what I mean? There's been so many errors in the Premier League over the span of, like you say, 15 years, do you know what I mean, that you can't replay them all. Do you know what I mean? Football is a horrible game at times, because it is milliseconds can change a game of football. Literally milliseconds. One wrong turn can completely change a result. And at the end of the day, Liverpool fans, unfortunately, in this situation, just have to accept that the PGMOL have made a huge mistake here. Obviously, they say they're going to look into it and stuff to make sure it doesn't happen again. Fair enough. Yeah, that is your job to do. But we just want a bit of clarity now on why these mistakes keep happening, because all it's going to do is put doubt into people's minds and VAR now. Like, I can't wait for this following weekend where there's going to be a goal that's going to look onside and people are going to be shitting themselves that it might be given offside, just because you don't know anymore. You just don't know. Like, we don't know what a handball rule is anymore. We don't know what offside is. It's like, we just want a little bit of clarity as football fans. What is black and white? Simple as. Even if you have to dumb down the rules to just straight, simple things, we don't mind that at all. It doesn't have to be all complicated football. If you pass the line, you're offside. If you're behind it, you're onside. End of.
It's like the one thing that the one reason goal line technology works so well, because it is black and white. The ball's either in or it's out, and it's always worked. You had the one instance, it was Aston Villa Sheffield, and goal line technology didn't work, and it ended up costing I think it was Bournemouth, their place in the league. Bournemouth ended up going down and Villa stayed up. And you can accept, there was an error with the technology because it's completely, there's no human input in to goal line technology. It was just faulty that day. And that cost another team.
Yeah.
But what you can't accept is, like, an offside isn't subjective. It shouldn't be something and is an opinion-based thing. He is either on or he is off.
Yeah.
And now where we have technology, and I'll bring this up, at the start of the season, PGMOL declined the offer from the people who officiated the World Cup to have their offside technology because it was automated. And they would rather be able to just put the lines in and do it themselves. Now, that's cost teams. Whereas this system that the World Cup had in place, where the sheet, like the transparent sheet would come down, and if your knee was poking through it, or your head, or any part of your body was poking through it, it's clear to see that he's off.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree.
I don't get why they declined to take that. Because now it just looks like they're doing this to either, and I'm not just saying that it's because it was Liverpool, but how many other games has this happened in where, there's been, you could be a yard or other side and it's been disallowed or given, when really these shouldn't be like subjective, these shouldn't be opinionated. It just should be as transparent as on or off.
Yeah. Well, I take it back to a couple of weeks ago, Everton-Arsenal, Martinelli's goal that got disallowed. I thought that was a perfectly legitimate goal because the last touch came off the Everton player. Okay, granted, he wasn't trying to play the ball that far backwards, but the last touch was of an Everton player. And the last thing I remember from the offside rule is, if the last touch comes off the opponent's player, you're onside, no matter where you are on the pitch.
I think that then comes down, did he intend to play the ball backwards?
Yeah, obviously it's a completely different situation. Yeah. But then again, you just little things like that, you can then bring up and be like, well, what's the difference in this situation and every other situation? It's like I said, we don't have a clear and concise ruling on pretty much anything in football at the minute. I genuinely believe, like, even time wasting at the minute, you got managers moaning about time wasting at the minute. They were trying to crack down on that, but then some teams like to play slower because it's the way they want to play the game. But then their goalkeepers are getting booked because they're taking their time, but their managers told them to take the time.
I think Paul Heckenbottom was the one that brought that up. Their keeper takes the time because they want to play out from the back. So they've now been told to change how they play football. They've ended up hoofing a ball long, which has resulted in a counter-attack where they've conceded.
Exactly.
So I think it's a case of, one, I've always thought Premier League referees want to try and make the game about themselves at times. Mike Dean was a perfect example of it. He loved being centre of attention. And I think it gets to the point where either you sit these referees down and tell them to fucking pack it in and just officiate the game, the game's not about you, or just bring in foreign referees. Because no other league has these issues.
Well, you say they don't have these issues. Like, they might have these issues. We just don't hear about them. Obviously, because this is English football, we hear obviously about them. We watch them live.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, these issues could also be coming up in other countries because they use I'm pretty sure the same technology is used all over Europe because they try and keep it competitive and fair.
Well, these issues don't happen in the Champions League. You would see it then because it's broadcast all over.
Oh, of course, yeah, but again, it just comes down to human errors at the end of the day, and like we say, this is just a calamitous human error made by 3 or 4 people, and it's not just one error; it's multiple of them.
Yeah,
like we have, like, even the Jota red card in this game as well. Like, the first booking is not a booking, whatsoever.
And then Udogie also waves the imaginary yellow card to get him booked, and he's already on a yellow by that point.
He is, but obviously, like, so the situation is Udogie obviously clips his own heels. The ref thinks Jota's clipped his heels, so he does get a booking for that. But then, obviously, I'm not going to say anything about the second yellow card because Jota's just an idiot.
Oh, it's a yellow. That's 100% a foul.
He's a muppet.
It's a stupid challenge.
He should never be on a yellow, which also brings me to my final question on this whole referee watch is: should VAR start intervening on second yellows?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes, 100%.
See, that's a controversial one for me. I think in certain circumstances they can, but obviously they can't obviously choose some and then not others. But for me, it's a weird one. I feel like it's something they probably can't do, but it's a shame they can't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
From a football perspective, you want them to be able to look back on a second yellow, but it's very hard to do in that situation. They can't even get one thing right, let alone this.
True.
So there's no point trying to add this onto their plate, because then they'd just be falling over.
I'm going to leave a question for the people watching to get them involved. Do you think VAR should be scrapped, or keep it, but and risk more instances like this happening, but there be drastic changes to how it's worked? Because I'm for one of the opinion it should be scrapped. I've never been a fan of VAR, even when they brought it in. So I want to hear other people's opinions on this. Do they think, we risk more of this, but there be drastic changes to try limit the amount that this happens, or just scrap it completely?
All right, guys, well, you heard it there. So make sure you drop it in the comments what you think. VAR scrapped, yay or nay? But that is going to do it, guys, for segment 2, Referee Watch. Stay tuned for the rest of the podcast. Now we get on to the mini segments now, starting with our moment of the week. We've both chosen the exact same goal of the weekend.
Yep, we have, and what a goal it is.
Absolute banger. So we're just going to put it on the screen for you guys now. Is Joachim Andersen's goal, which was the winner against Manchester United.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal strike by Joachim Andersen.
It's just an absolutely beautiful strike. The ball comes through and he's got to shift his body to make contact like that. And I actually remember watching this on Match of the Day and seeing his interview afterwards, and he was just like, I just took it like a pure striker. Like fair play, man, fair play.
To be fair, that strike is so difficult to do, because you can catch it so wrong and look like an absolute tit. You catch that wrong, it's hitting some poor kid in the stands, and you wouldn't expect anything other, because like you say, he's a centre back. He doesn't get them opportunities often, but to turn, to shift his body like that, and the power and precision he generates off of that goal is fantastic.
Yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful goal. I do want to touch on the Manchester United defending a bit. I think
awful.
When the ball gets played in, they are in a good defensive position, but then you look at I think it's Lindelof at the back post there with Joachim Andersen. He just lets him go. He runs back in with him, but then stops. And for me, it's just lovely movement from Joachim Andersen. He just anticipates that ball might end up in that space, so he pulls away from Lindelof. And what more can you say about the strike? It's just a bloody beautiful finish.
I mean, as he says, it's a striker's finish. He's hit that like a striker. It's a phenomenal goal.
He has indeed. So that is our moment of the week. We do have special mentions, though. I'm going to start off with mine, which is Jared Bowen's goal for West Ham United. If I can just find it here. I just think it's a fantastic team goal from start to finish. Just going to play it through now. So it's just fantastic passing from West Ham United. And it obviously comes out wide to Sofau, who then finds Jared Bowen, who initiated the move at the start. I just think it's a fantastic team goal from start to finish. Lovely quick touch passing from my boys, West Ham United. Paqueta's involved as well. One touches. No time on the ball. No thinking about it. Just know exactly where each other's going to be. And Jared Bowen, who's on fantastic form at the minute, slots it into the bottom corner. Yeah,
a fantastic goal. Started and finished by Koufal and Bowen. Plays the initial ball in, and that ball by Koufal off the right it's weighted perfectly for Bowen to just run onto, and then it's a very, very precise finish.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't even have to think about what he's
No.
going to do. It's just pinpoint perfection from West Ham United. It's not often I say perfection when I use the word West Ham United, but
Yeah, he knows where it's like the way he opens his body up. He knows where he already wants to place that before the balls even come in.
yeah,
He knows that bottom corner is where he wants to place it. He doesn't look up. He tracks the ball, and it's just a like you said, it's a perfect finish for a perfect team goal.
it is. It is indeed. So
Uh,
we'll get on to your honourable mention, Jakey.
yeah, my honourable mention comes from the Wolf City the Wolf City game. Alvarez's free kick. As much as City do go on to lose this game, you can't take away from what a fantastic free kick that is.
It's an absolute beauty, man. Just watching it back here, it's an absolute beauty.
To get it up and over the wall from that close as well, it's a special effort. And I don't think there's much the keeper can do.
No, definitely not. He's put that pinpoint in the stanchion.
Yeah. He's like the keeper even gets a hand to it, but by that point he's already halfway in the goal. It's such a hard stop to even get close to, and it's just a brilliant free kick from a player.
How close it is as well. Considering how close it is to that 18-yard box, not a lot of players can get that ball up and over the wall with the pace and the power that he puts on it.
Oh, 100%.
It's just absolute perfection.
Yeah.
Genuinely is perfection.
From a player that I actually didn't think he had that in his locker. I did not know that he was as good a free kick taker as he is, because that's a free kick from someone who looks like he's been on them his whole career.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's just a very, very good free kick. A free kick that's deserving of the winner, to be fair, which is just unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
yeah.
That's going to do it, guys, for our goals and moments of the week. Stay tuned for more. Right, it's now time for our Fantasy Premier League rundown. So, obviously, we have the league table here in front of us, guys. Sitting in first place is Luke Radzi, 52 points this week, sitting in 439, but right behind him is Jawad Fahat. Just 1 point behind him with a fantastic game week of 66 points. I just want to point out yours truly has had a fantastic week. It jumped from 11th to 6th with a 70-point game week. Big up Ollie Watkins. Thank you very much, sir.
We don't talk about my game week. We just ignore that. It's fine.
We're getting to that. Don't worry, mate.
No, we're not.
So we've got Aaron Baker just behind me with Rodrigo Plonka with a 53-point game week, 412 points. Going a little further down, Stuart Welch with Kinder Mbuemo, love that name, with a game week of 40 points with 411 total points. And then near the bottom, so we'll go from 11th, we've got Owen Barnett with 388 points. We've got Joe Poppleton with 385 points. And then right at the bottom, we've got someone called Jakey sitting on 370 points with an awful game week of only 30 points, Jake. Please explain what happened there.
Brighton held 6 is what happened. I can't really... Brighton did nothing, and I have 2 attackers and one of their defenders, and their defender just happened to score an own goal.
Yes, that is a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it wasn't a great week from me. Obviously, Haaland blanked against Wolves. Ferguson blanked against Villa. So did Matoma. Yeah, it just wasn't a great week from me. I'll hold my hands up there.
Yeah, so I had a bit of a nice balanced week. I had Ollie Watkins getting the majority of my points with 23. I had Bowen as my vice captain, got me 9. Big Trippier's got me 12. Diaby got me 8. Haaland only got me 4, but obviously that's not a huge thing because let's be honest, everyone and their nan's got Haaland in their dream team. You can't not. So
yeah,
everyone's gonna have the same points there. Alvarez got me 8. I do think my team may need a little bit of a shake up for this weekend. Obviously we've got the Europa League fixtures and the rest of the Champions League still to be played, so injuries could occur and changes could be made, but as it stands, though, I think the league is taking shape nicely. I think between top and bottom, there's not too much of a crazy standpoint, there will only take a few good weeks for someone like you, Jake, to climb back up that table.
I need it, man. I need it.
He needs a good game week. He needs a good game week.
I just want to highlight how close that top three is, separated by 7 points.
Yeah,
That's
mental.
ridiculously close. Chubaz and Luke only separated by a point.
Yeah,
It's only going to take 1 week, and that can swing quickly. And it looks like it's closing because Jawad had a brilliant week on 66.
He did. And just remember, guys, if you are involved in our fantasy league, first place will get £100 from the Shots on Target podcast as the winner.
Yep.
So there is a lot to play for here, guys. It's not just a bit of fun, this. We're also playing for a bit of Skrilla.
We are.
But that is going to do it, guys, for the Premier League rundown. And finally, we have our Premier League predictions. These are going to be some spicy ones from us. Well, they might not be spicy. We'll see, actually. But kicking straight off with Luton versus Tottenham. I've got that as an away Tottenham win.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward game for Spurs.
Okay.
I do think that's going to be a Spurs win.
Yeah. So we got Burnley versus Chelsea. I actually see this as a Chelsea away win.
Yeah, I think after last week's fixture, I think Chelsea are going to find some form. I do think they win this game.
Yeah, me too. So this one's an interesting one. Everton versus Bournemouth. Do we get the Everton bounce back? Or does things get even worse for Everton? Me personally, I've got this as a draw. I see that as a draw.
I mean, both teams in torrid form at the minute. Bournemouth's obviously sitting at 18th or 19th now, actually, and Everton not far behind them. Yeah, I think this is just going to be an absolute mid-off. I think it'll be a draw as well.
Okay. Next up, we've got Fulham versus Sheffield United. And again, another very interesting one. I think Fulham take this one. I think Fulham at home take this one.
After watching them against Chelsea, I thought they were awful.
Oh, I agree.
Do you know what? I'm going to pip Sheffield for this one.
Sheffield?
I think they're going to. I think they're going to get their first win of the season against Fulham.
Okay, you heard it.
It's going to be a scrappy one, but I think Sheffield will get it.
You heard it here first, guys. So Manchester United versus Brentford. This is a very, very interesting one. I think Manchester United will get their bounce back here against Brentford. I think Brentford don't look like the team that everyone expect them to be. I do think they are really missing Ivan Toney, that vocal point up top. So yeah, I'm going to go with a United win on this one.
I'm going to go a draw.
A draw, okay.
I think United look vulnerable at the back, and as bad as Brentford have been without Toney, I still do think they're a threat.
Okay. So we got Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest, a late game on Saturday. This one's another very, very interesting one. It's one of those games where you don't expect it to be a good game, but it could be an absolute banger, this one.
Yeah.
I honestly think Nottingham Forest take this. I think Nottingham Forest take this.
I think another draw.
Another draw. Okay. So moving on to Sunday, we've got Brighton versus your boys Liverpool. I think Liverpool take this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bet against my own team.
I don't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we win this. I think we have to win this. We need a bounce back after Spurs.
Okay, next up is my boys, West Ham United at the Olympic Stadium against Newcastle. I actually think we take this. I generally do believe we take this because Newcastle have got a huge game against PSG in the Champions League. We've got a nice, not an easy fixture against Freiburg in the Europa League, but I think it'll be a bit easier for us than Newcastle. And I think at the Olympic, I think we'll just have a bit too much on the day. I think we will win that one.
I'm going to be boring and I'm going to go a draw. Again, I think you're probably just going to cancel each other out. I think it's just going to be one of them games where defences are going to be on top. And I think it ends in a draw.
I think this game comes down to whoever takes their chances. Because there will be chances for both teams. There's no doubt about that.
It's mainly just which team shows up on the day. Because if it's a good West Ham team that we know how they've played, you could easily win this. But if both teams turn up, it's gonna be a back and forth game. I just think you just both cancel each other out.
And next we have Wolves versus Villa. Bit of a derby, this one. An interesting one. Quite a tough one actually, because obviously you've got Wolves coming off a fantastic result against City, but then you've got Villa coming off against from a fantastic result against Brighton.
Yeah.
I got to see this as a draw. This one.
I think Villa probably take it. I think they've got a bit too much quality for Wolves, with players finding like Diaby finding the feet and Watkins finding the back of the net consistently. I think they might just have a bit too much for them.
Could say the same thing about City though, and look what happened. So.
True, that is very true.
That's true. And speaking of City, last but not least, Arsenal versus Manchester City, the big game from last season that literally decided the title. I'm going to let you take this one first, Jakey. Who have you got, sir?
It's a tough one because obviously Arsenal midweek coming off the back of losing to Lens in the Champions League, which obviously isn't a great result for them, but I don't know.
And possibly an injury to Saka as well.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to how serious that Saka injury is and if he plays or not. I think if that injury's serious, I reckon City take this.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not, I reckon a draw. I think City just have a bit too much quality.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think City do bounce back. They'll want to bounce back, and there's no other better time to do it than at the Emirates against Arsenal. I think City take this as well, but I do think it will be close. I don't think it will be a blowout like last season's result.
What was it? Last season, a 5-0, 4-0 Drummond?
Something like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Something like that, but I do think it will be close.
Yeah.
I think it would be an interesting game for sure. And it would not surprise me if Arsenal do take this, though. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it could go either way. It really could. It's going to be a very, very good game.
It will be a very good game indeed. I am looking forward to watching that one for sure.
I am.
So that is going to do it for the final segment, guys. Right, that is going to do it, guys, for this week's episode of the Shots on Target podcast. We hope you have enjoyed yourselves. We hope you like the new format. We're going to try and implement this every week from now on. If you guys do have any changes that you'd like to see, if you'd like us to analyse something different or do something different, pop it in the comments section below. We take all comments seriously. We look at changing things and updating things every week, trying to make things better for you guys as best we can. And all we can say is thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for watching as always. Remember, if you aren't subscribed, to hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends and family as always. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you very much, guys.
See you later, guys.